I'm heading for the last roundup.
Welcome to this special edition of The Last Roundup. As a program dedicated to all things related to radio, one of our recurring themes is how classic American broadcast radio gear is finding a second life in the ham shacks of radio amateurs, the studios of recording artists, and even working its way back into broadcast radio stations looking to recapture a classic sound, look, and feel. In the past, we talked about saving and converting broadcast AM transmitters in the 250 to 1,000 watt range and how they have kept ham radio alive and interesting for many who are not satisfied with the appliance-type operation in the HF bands. The fidelity of AM is vastly superior to single sideband operation. Classic Collins, Gates, RCA, and other broadcast transmitters sound even better in the ham bands than they do on the broadcast band because they can operate at full bandwidth without the straitjacket of NRSC and the terrible impact of having to piggyback with digital IBOC. Now we'll address the human interface with these magnificent transmitters. The analogy between classic broadcast transmitters, consoles, and classic automobiles is particularly apt because they arise from the same generation of inspired post-World War II industrial designers, finally set free to go beyond utilitarian designs, tapping into America's post-war affluence and optimism. A radio station and a car have much in common. The body and engine of a classic car would be equivalent to a broadcast transmitter, while the interior and dashboard of the car are analogous to the studio, namely the audio console. This is where the human interfaces with the machine. Emmy-winning inventor of specialized audio metering devices and multiband processing, Mike Doreau has been active in saving classic broadcast gear from the scrap metal men so that these magnificent rigs can find a second life in the ham bands. Since his teenage years, Mike has been salvaging and repairing this gear as a means of learning his craft as an audio engineer. Through these boards flowed the sounds of the greatest names in radio drama, comedy, and music. Sinatra, Elvis, Motown, and history have all been channeled through these venerable high-fidelity devices. These boards and their forward-thinking industrial designers are part of our culture and history. The potential tragedy in all of this is that many of these magnificent boards are being scrapped. Think of the old Camaros, Mustangs, and T-Birds that wound up on the scrap heap. Had their owners waited a few years, the hulk they paid to have hauled away would have appreciated enough to pay a child's college tuition. Such is the worldwide appreciation for American-made devices produced during our golden age of manufacturing. Mike Doreau feels that these boards will never be as sought after, perhaps, as classic cars, but they deserve the same respect. For ham radio operators running broadcast rigs, these boards are a way to have an authentic classic radio experience from the golden age of broadcasting.
But we're having fun here anyway with Stickam and the audio console and the transmitter and all that stuff. So count this as our check-in, and we'll hang around. And hello to George. I see you're texting there.
Don't see Michael at the microphone on Stickam. We hadn't heard from Les, WB6ORZ. Les, you want to get a transmission in here? And I know we have George, HCX, to get it to. Go ahead, Les.
Tube type and early solid-state broadcast boards were built to operate in high RF environments. Better shielding, heavier gauge metal, and RF-resistant internal wiring practices were the norm. Keep in mind that such audacious boards could not be built today. They would simply be too expensive. It's not just about nostalgia. These high-quality boards are supremely capable and ideal for use in ham radio, where their superior shielding from RF is crucial. This is particularly beneficial to hams because, unlike most modern commercial AM operations, the physical proximity of the studio and transmitting antenna in the typical amateur radio station is tight, and the operating frequencies higher, increasing the potential for stray RF to find its way into the audio chain. Well, pardon one more car analogy. One of the most popular program categories these days in the world of cable television are the programs dealing with classic car restorations. A whole range of experts, mechanics, and artists take old wrecks and transform them into restored gems. That type of thing is also going on in the worlds of broadcast transmitters and studio gear.
The first time any one of you makes a wrong move, I'm going to kill the whole lot of you.
Now that the case has been made for the use of vintage broadcast audio consoles in amateur radio, the question is, where do they come from, and how do I get one? The answer is that these items will avoid the scrap metal men and find appreciative new owners if they are perceived to have value. So please share this video with as many people as you can. RadioNational.org lists resources for restorers, photos seen in this video, and many other examples of restored classic transmitters, mixing boards, and other notable radio gear. There is a how-to feature with recommendations for cleaning, electronic rehabilitation, and cosmetic refinishing techniques.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
How ironic that hams now have the best-sounding AM, most elegant gear, and that music is virtually gone from the bandwidth-limited AM broadcast band. Now we have their gear and the last laugh.
I'm riding in the light.